Hello friends and welcome to Generation Pixel. My name's Stuart and today, well, firstly I've got to say thank you to you, my subscribers, because in this last week I've doubled my subscribers, which is absolutely outstanding and quite frankly unbelievable. But also I want to thank you, yes you, the non-subscriber, because although my subscriptions have went up, so has my watch rate. And 50% of you out there haven't subscribed and are still watching. Now, you don't need to subscribe, but that button there, yeah, that button down there, it's there for you when you're ready. Because this channel, to steal the wisdom from Forrest Gump, is like a box of chocolates. You just don't know what you're gonna get. But let's move on to the main point of this video, because I am going to show you a game you probably have never played or even ever heard about. A game that I can quite happily say is the lost MetroidVania game. Now I'm not going to take a deep dive into what makes a MetroidVania game, because if you're watching this channel, whether subscriber or not, I can pretty much guarantee that you fall into the category of gamer, technophile, geek. And as such you probably only too well know what a MetroidVania game is. And also know your FPS from your RPG and your Souls-like from your roguelike. And with MetroidVania games, it doesn't matter if you're a boomer, Gen Xer, millennial, Gen Y, or even a little bitty zoomer. You all fall into the category, dare I say it, as Generation Pixel. But enough of all that, let's just have a quick look at MetroidVania. So for the very few of you out there that maybe don't know what a MetroidVania game is, it's quite simply a game that followed in the blueprint that was set out by two major games back in the 80s. Those games being Castlevania and Metroid. Or more specifically, Castlevania Symphony of the Night and Super Metroid. But the game I'm about to introduce to you is the lost MetroidVania game, and in fact was released in the year that the original Castlevania and Metroid both made their appearance, and that year was 1986. And slap bang in the middle of those two releases in 1986 was a little known game that had pretty much all the same formula, and that game was called the Sacred Armour of Antiriad. So you might ask yourself, why a game that followed the same formula and was released at the same time independently of the other two games never quite took on the imagination that Castlevania and Metroid did? Well, the answer to that is quite simple. You see, the Sacred Armour of Antiriad, which I will continue to call Antiriad just for the sake of simplicity, was released primarily, or almost exclusively, on home microcomputers, which were hugely popular in Europe in the 80s and early 90s, and not having quite the global impact of being on a console such as the NES truly hindered this wonderful little game. And you can probably see quite clearly that it has all the same attributes as any MetroidVania game. It has a decently large area to explore with areas hidden behind a progression lock. In other words, like all the others, and like the two games it was released with almost side by side, you had to explore, to find, to upgrade, and then progress. Now graphically, for the time, it was quite superior to the Nintendo offerings, as the home microcomputers could utilise much bigger sprites on screen. Where they tended to falter though was with sound quality. That all being said, of course, it was merely the platform choice that the developers released on that made the real difference. And although the game is approaching 35 years of age, there are still ways and means of playing this game. And had it have taken off at the time, one can only wonder what we would call MertroidVania games these days. Metroid Antiradias. But that's quite a mouthful, so maybe in hindsight, having this little hidden gem lost almost to time may be a good thing. But it doesn't mean you shouldn't try and hunt it down for yourself, because like everything else in life, it's always important to know your roots. Now Antiriad also had one other special thing that came with the game. Something that you really don't see much anymore, and to be honest, it's a crying shame. And that was a graphic novel that came with the game. Because back then, with the limited technology that the devs had to work with, they had to find more creative ways to expand the enjoyment of a game. Stories were much harder to tell in the 8-bit era on video games. So little bits like this graphic novel could make a huge difference in a player's appreciation of the game. And just for you, I'm now going to show that graphic novel in full. So feel free to use your pause button to read at your leisure. I hope you've all enjoyed this short video on the Sacred Armour of Antiriad, and I hope it's whetted your appetite to maybe look into it yourself. And if you have liked it, please hit the like button, and of course, please comment, are there any other games out there that you feel were maybe lost by the wayside, that should have had a bigger impact than they perhaps did? Especially, I would love to hear if you've actually played the Sacred Armour of Antiriad yourself. And last but not least, please feel free to subscribe. I put out various content on various subjects pretty much all of the time, and every now and again it might just be something that you're interested in watching. But that brings us to the end of this short video, and there's only one last thing to say, and that is, to everyone, bye!